should Trump be disqualified from running based on the 14th Amendment? Now, let me tell you, there is part of the 14th Amendment, Section 3, which is what people are referring to that would disqualify Trump from running for office again, right? Section 3 is called disqualification from office for insurrection or rebellion. See where this is going? Section 3, quote, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as any executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability. Okay, so in plain language, you cannot run for state or federal office if you are found to have been a part of an insurrection or a rebellion against the United States. That's the simple way of putting that.
Yes.
Do you think that disqualifies Donald Trump from running for president?
So there's a couple of different ways I'm going to approach this. The first of all, and I'm just going to say it up front, it doesn't matter what I think about the interpretation of this amendment. It doesn't matter what you think about the interpretation of this amendment, because who's going to decide it is going to be the Republican-leaning Supreme Court. And this will get before them. I think there's one state, I think Maine is already challenging his standing to be on the ballot in general. So we'll see what happens. I'm pretty sure that they're going to do one of two things. They're either going to punt, saying, well, we can't really rule on this until he's been like convicted of a crime having to do with insurrection, or they'll just vote it down using the narrowest interpretation of this amendment that they possibly can, which is kind of built in because the context behind the amendment was that it was a Reconstruction era amendment that was meant to bar Confederate people, like people that were in the Confederacy, from holding state or federal office, which then got fucking like kicked out anyway, as part of Reconstruction. So I don't see this Supreme Court not using that very narrow interpretation. Because, like I said, the Constitution is not a document to be interpreted; it's a document to be manipulated by Republicans to frame issues however they want to see it, based on what they want to happen. So that's my first thing. Should this bar him from being able to hold office? I think you can make the argument, and I think it's a compelling argument, that this dude tried to undermine democracy. And if you are, if it's clear that that was something you did, there's no way you can actively be a member of, have power over said democracy, considering that you tried to fucking undermine it. That's silly. That's crazy talk to allow that to happen. I think this is an amendment that should be viewed under a wider lens. And again, we're not talking about challenging, an election result in court or stuff like that. Like, right. We're talking about what Trump did, which was foment, encourage and probably help organize people stopping the certification of the election in the Congress, and also getting states to submit fake electors to
an actual action. An action, not just
those are crimes. Right. But do you think that it should be proven in a court of law that he did this before you can bar him from holding office? That's really what it kind of boils down to. Because I think it just being an accusation is a loose standard.
It's too loose.
You know what I mean?
It's too loose.
Yeah.
Look, personally, I think it absolutely bars him from holding office. Do I agree with you that it has to be proven? Yeah, I think it has to be proven first. I think if Jack Smith's case in DC gets adjudicated and it's like, no, this dude is guilty of seditious conspiracy, blah, 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 then I think the 14th Amendment kicks in and like we're done here. Like there's no conversation to be had. Yes, the context of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, the context is the Civil War. But it doesn't just say in the Civil War. Like that's the problem with amendments. They don't just live in those moments. They live on because you want, it was not written, and this is where, again, this is where conservatives would pretend like they don't understand basic things, right? They would pretend that this is written for the Civil War. This was not written for anything going forward. But nobody writes laws like that. Something happens, you write the law so that it doesn't happen again, right? So that if there was another Civil War, which Republicans just keep talking about, if there was a second Civil War and we kicked the shit out of them again, then we would look back at Section 3 of the 14th Amendment and say, sorry, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you were a general in the Civil War against America, so you don't get to be, now that we're unifying the country again, you don't get to try to become a House representative, right? Like that's what that's for. But they would make the argument that it has to do with Civil War, so it has no precedent. And then I would make the argument, unironically, that, well, they wrote the Second Amendment. Did they write the Second Amendment for just when they had muskets, or was that just going forward all the time? Oh, right. You guys think that's in perpetuity, though, right? Oh, well, that's in the Bill of Rights. Oh, okay.